Here discussing about one of the object name. That object name was asynchronous apex job, not this one. Just was removing for the reference. Okay, let's get started with the future method. So I just give a quick recap what actually we're getting started this today. We're going to see different kinds of asynchronous apex that are available. So we have total 4 types of asynchronous apex. One is a future, which is a method annotation we have. So when we do annotation as a future to any method, it should have some specification, then only it is allowed. So we will discuss more about that. And then batch, which is used to run the large running records. We have to process, then we will go for a batch job. Then a queuable. So queuable also similar to exactly the future method, but thing was we can track the queuable and batch and schedulable jobs, whereas future method um, we don't have any kind of a tracking. That's a high level thing. And now getting started with the future method. So future method, um, it is a method annotation. So what should be the annotation is all annotation. When we're saying annotation, before writing a method, we will give a @ symbol and whatever the keyword that we'll use for the annotation. For future is the annotation. And if you let's say is basic syntax, it will be starting as at future method and then a normal method, and it has to be a static method, and the return type has to be future method will not have any return type. Once we have initiated the method, we will not have any return type. If you mention any return type, it will not be allowed to save as a future method. So it should have a void as a return type, and it has to be a static method. And then your method name, and so we don't have any return type, so nothing to return over here. And coming to the parameters of the future method, so either we can call the future method without any parameters, and you can have a parameter which are a primitive data types, or which is a not a Salesforce object list or a Salesforce object. So any primitive data type like a string or a list of string or any list of wrapper, or if any list of ID you can use, but as object types are not allowed. So why they are not allowed, first of all? So just think of a scenario. So let's say I want to delete some records or create not create or update some records. So I do a query and pass that as a parameter as a list of account or list of project to my future method. So it will take some time, but like not immediately I want to process. So I want to run it as a separate thread. So I queried and gave it. So what will happen? What all asynchronous method do? Whenever the system resource is available, then it will execute. Correct? So if it's immediately execute, it may not be much issue. But if it's executing after some time, let's say I have queried 4 or 5 fields from an object and I passed as a parameter. Meanwhile, I did some more changes to it. That means whatever the data I pass to a future method, by the time it is getting executed, it may not be the right. So there might be some time. Meanwhile, the records might have changed, and whatever the operation I'm doing, I may not be doing on the right data. So the future method will not allow you to pass as object type parameters, or a collection of as object type are not allowed in a future methods, only primitive data. So if you have any specific records need to be processed in those scenarios, we'll pass those list or set of IDs, and then inside the future method you have to write your SOQL and process your data. And return type has to be void, and it has to be a static method, and parameters should be a non-primitive and non-subject type ones. And if you have any callouts, so what is a callout? Callout means when you're trying to interact with other system. Let's say some other Salesforce system or org, or like it could be any other environment or any other platform. In those scenarios, what we'll do, we will do a call out. That means we had a setup of authorizing what is the login for that, what is the URL, what is the username, password, and what is the token. We'll set everything up, and we should be able to access the system. So they will expose some methods and classes, and we're trying to access those one, and we will get some response out of it. Those are called as a call out. So that's, I'm giving a brief thing. So it could be like a REST or SOAP callouts we do integrations. So in while doing those, we why because it has to like interact with the other system, which will be a somewhat longer time compared to a normal execution. It will be usually a long running process compared to normal synchronous Apex. So we use a future methods or any kind of asynchronous Apex to perform those things. So if we want to like writing a future method to do any kind of a call out, then what we do was we do a call out equal to true, then only the method will allow you to do a call outs in your code. So the call out equal to true is used when you're trying to do a call outs from a future method. That's what actually it does. And then we cannot call another another future method from future method. That means like let's say you have a multiple future methods. So from code you call this method called my future, and you have a one more future method. Let's say my future method, my future method 2. And if you're trying to call this method, which is not a allowed one. We cannot call a future method inside a future method. It is not allowed. So calling future method is not allowed from a future. Okay, so far clear, or any doubts so far? We'll write up an example and see. So before we are getting started, I would like to show you the mixed DML. I think some time back we explained about the mixed DML one. So first we will try to achieve a mixed DML. When what are the scenarios that will run into a mixed DML error, and then we'll write a the workaround is a by using a future method. So file new Apex class mix DML exception. So here, let's say I have a method public. I don't have any return type. And um, update setup non-setup objects. Setup update setup and non-setup objects. So over here, um, let's say I want to create an account equal to new account, and I want to mention name equal to, let's say, have an account, and then I dot industry equal to something, and a dot type equal to something. రెండు ఏం కావాలి సరిపోతుంది నాకు ఇచ్చే ఫోన్ తీసి నాకు ఇచ్చే annual revenue, and then I do a insert account. Let's say in the same method I want to update something on my account. So let's say I have some field called about me. First of all, I want to know, right, user u equal to select id comma about me from user where id equal to, so let's say I want to know like logged in user id, like I am the login, so I logged in, so I want to know my user id. How we will know? We have a like a user info class which will be having a information of the logged in user. So in this info, like we have so many things, like all the information from the user we can get. You can see all the fields, like default currency, first name, language, name. What I need is the user id. So get user id. I need a user id, and in that I want to query the about me field, and here I want to do a user dot about me equal to, like I am subtract info. So this is how it is, and then I want to update the user. So here annual revenue I want to give somewhat 400, and just so here I would say like a prospect. Consultation. So let's say I have this method where I'm trying to do a insert on this non-setup object, and I was trying to update a setup object also. It could be any DML operation. It's not required to insert or update anything, but it has to be any kind of DML operation that will be considered as a DML. So mixed DML, right? So this is a non-setup object, and this is a setup object. I was trying to do the same thing. Okay, now done. Save. Um, just I will create one VF page, and we can call it page. So record this one here. it would be great if you want to immediately guess like what we're going to write, so that it will be apex form. We had to write first one, and then apex page block, apex page block, and then um,
Debug table.
so here just we'll provide one button, and then on click of a button we call this method and do that. So page block is doing two page block buttons. Ah, page block buttons. So what is the button syntax? Apex command button. So here what all the attributes we set? Value,
ID.
call mixed DML, and then how to call Apex method. What is the attribute? Action. Action equal to, we have to give what are the method that we are exposing. This is the one. Okay. Then uh, mixed DML method. So it's doing preview. So here when I try to do a call mixed DML. Not debug. It is weird. User object and account updated. Hmm, that looks a bit weird. Hmm, that looks really weird. It will not work usually. So name equal to hmm. Maybe I guess they were only when we're trying to update only some limited fields, then only we are getting this kind of error. We're trying to change some fields. Maybe I need to check what fields that are. So here, if we take on the note, if I change field like about me, yeah, about me, there we have to, sorry, when you're trying to update about me, we are not getting a mixed DML, but when we're trying to change the role, then we are getting a mixed DML. There might be a specific fields when we're trying to update, then only we might be getting mixed DML. So I need to check. So in short, when we're trying to make some specific changes to a setup objects and a non-setup objects in the same transaction, then we are getting this mixed DML exception.
We lost your audio.
Sorry, I kept on mute. Here, just I was checking whether specific role is being changed or not. It is not changed. Why? Because I got exception. So, so it not changed. So can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So here, let's try and move it to a separate method. So what I will do is I will write a method saying public and update role of the user, and here update role of the user, and I'll move all this code to this method. And I will try to execute the same thing. Still, it's going to the same transaction only, right? Even though it is moved to separate method, still it is the same method, or like, sorry, same transaction only it's being called, right? Now, let's look at how we can avoid this using a future method. Okay, first thing, if you want to write a future method, what are all the prerequisites? We should have a at future annotation,
It's future.
then
It should be a static method.
static method,
Return type should be void.
it should be void, and let's say future method name. So here I'll give a same name, and then here it will go as a logic. Just I will copy all the now here just I will copy these two methods from here to my new method in the future. Okay, so I did both update setup and on setup objects. So here I will give a non setup object, and then just I will remove for now. And then so I'll just same this name to here, and I will move all this logic to this future method. So what I will do is instead of doing here, I'll just call this method. Sorry, so call this method. So what I'm doing, so whatever the logic I have here, the block of code, the same block I was the future. So what I'm trying to do here was the same logic. I was creating a future method and moving it to a future method. Now, uh, future. So before I'm doing anything, just I will copy same thing to the previous method. Maybe I made some changes here. Save. Once it is save completed, then we'll run. Save completed. I'm trying to execute, and still I'm getting the error. Now I have the same piece of code, but only thing what I did here was I moved the second method piece of block to a future method, and then let's call this method and see whether we are getting, and you can observe whether calling of the future in this logs. So for what we have, you can see here, and what I'm trying to do was I'll create a new object for future. And then object future dot, we have same method over there also, this one. So I was trying to execute this one. Let's see what will happen. So I'll not get any exception. If you observe the log, I have a two logs got created. One is the anonymous block, one is for a future. So when you're getting a two logs, that means there are true transaction happened. So in the first transaction, what happened there? Only new account got created. I think in future I don't have any system debugs, I guess. I'm not sure. I don't have anything, but I can check. So there are no error. And what actually in future method happened? Future method, I was trying to change the role of the team as of tech to a role as a CEO. Correct? So let me check quickly here. So here as a team as of tech is previously sales rep. I was trying to refresh. So now it become role as a CEO. So that's how we can do a workaround. It is only like not mandated to only set up objects only we have to move to a future method. It's not like that. You can do other way around as well. So I will create a one more method saying um, create a new account. So everything over here, I'll move to this method. Call this one here. Set up object. So what I will do is I will create one more future method. Here what I will call it as create account future. So here what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to do everything here to here, and then create account future. So here I made both as a future method. So we cannot call a future method from one more future, but we can call a two future methods from same method. It's not a cascading. It is a doing a parallel thing. Okay. So as a thing, I'll try and save and show it to you once, and then we'll move the other method as well. Execute method and then executing the same one. Got a thing. And now what will happen was there will be a three logs created, one for normal handler, and next two will be a two future methods. So you can see here, the same time we have a three logs. One is this one, and there are two future methods. One is for a creation of account, and one is for a updating a user role. Okay, so that's how we can do. Let's say if I don't want to make here as a future